with focusing on natural and hyper-coastal infrastructure. His research integrates machine learning, advanced imaging, and in situ geotechnical testing to assess the stability of the wetland and marsh environments. With over 6 years of experience, Mohamed has worked on major infrastructure projects in Egypt, including the Cairo monorail in Egypt, New Delta, and Old Aswan Dam. So go ahead, Hassan.
Right. Thanks, Dr. Mahmoud, for the invitation, and thanks for organizing this great work. It's really appreciated. I know it's a lot of work for you, but thank you. So I would like to talk a little bit away from the transportation geotechnical engineering, which is quite common in Egypt, and move a little bit to the coastal geotechniques, which is becoming a trend nowadays in the US, maybe in Canada, and it has been an interest for a lot of universities in Australia, especially University of Western Australia. And this field is not new, but you can see that it's an interdisciplinary research between geotechnical engineering, and that's what we are going to see today, like various of traditional geotechnical testing being applied to coastal areas. And of course, because working on the coast, you need to consider the ecological parameters. So here, when it comes the natural part or the ecological part of this research, and because we are in 2025, everything is about AI. So there are some machine learning and AI has been applied to my research and to many other research in the coastal geotechniques field. So I would like to start with the outline. We just have a brief background about the coastal challenges and how it's related to us as geotechnical engineers. And then we're going to define what is a natural and hybrid coastal infrastructure. And then we are going to delve in two studies very quick. One is a study of root soil interaction and stress behavior. And this study has been done along the Gulf of America. And then we are gonna move to the AI and imaging part. And then I'm gonna conclude. This is gonna be a quick presentation. I know it's 5 p.m. now in Egypt, and everyone wants to go to the iftar. Okay, so let's start with the coastal challenges. So we can define three main challenges in coastal areas. The first one is the erosion, and that's you can see here on this picture. Let me. All right, so you can see at the pointer that there has been a shoreline retreat between the white and the blue lines along the coast. That's a huge area. It's being eroded due to human effect, due to wave action, storm surge, and so on. So that's the first challenge, how we can stop this kind of erosion. And it's kind of related to the second one, which is the sea level rise. And here you can see how the sea level rise is happening over years, according to this paper in 2020. And I would like to mention that NASA's rate or recorded rate is 3.5 millimeter per year. So sea level rise is true, whether you believe in climate change or not, but sea level rise is true. And then the third challenge is hurricanes and storm surge. And this picture is from Stark et al. 2025. That's Hurricane Helene in Florida. And that happened in 2024. I took this picture myself, and this building is right across the coast. And here you can see that the pile caps have been broken. Even the destruction has reached the second floor, not only the first floor, and this building basically is done. It needs a lot of rehabilitation. So looking at the hurricanes and storm surge, it's not only that it's happening, it has been happening for years, but now it's becoming more frequent and it's becoming more strong. So basically, Hurricane Milton that happened in Florida in 2024, it's the highest recorded hurricane ever. So hurricanes are becoming more and more frequent, and they are getting stronger. And the effect of hurricanes not only on the building, but it uh, it it creates vegetation loss, it weakens the soil, and it makes this erosion happen rapidly. So basically, you can see that all the challenges are connected. That's why the solution has to be also facing all of them at once. So looking at natural and hybrid coastal infrastructure, this picture from Sottinger et al. 2015 describes what is natural and what is gray infrastructure or uh, hard infrastructure. And then what is hybrid is something that can combine both. So in the first row, we can see the salt marshes that has been eroded. Mangroves, it's sort of marsh ecosystem, but with another type of vegetation called mangrove. It's much stronger. Oyster shells, sand dunes, that's all, or the corals, that's all could be considered as natural infrastructure. And then talking about the gray infrastructure or the hard infrastructure, we can build levees to face these storms, or we can build seawalls. We can build seawalls and protect it with riprap. There are many options in terms of the coastal infrastructure. But the hybrid system is way better. Why? Basically, because you can combine salt marsh with a seawall. All right, how is that difference from having just a seawall? And here we are studying not only the effect on the erosion and so on, but we are studying also how this is going to protect these buildings during hurricanes and storm surge. Basically, the wetland or the salt marsh is going to dissipate the hurricane energy. It's not gonna withstand the hurricane. It's not gonna act as a wall and protect the hurricane, protect from the hurricane. But it's gonna dissipate it. It's gonna make the hurricane much weaker, and then the forces on the seawall is gonna be less, and that's gonna affect the design of the seawall. So that's the beauty of the hybrid coastal infrastructure. Furthermore, it can provide with much more environmental benefits. Basically, you are enriching the area that you are creating this infrastructure in. That's going to affect birds, plants, and so on. So it doesn't only have construction benefit in terms of dissipating the force, but also it has an environmental advantage. So moving forward to two current studies related to the coastal geotechniques field and especially coastal infrastructure. The first study is about road soil strength behavior and how roads are interacting with soils. And here we studied three different regions. The first one in Galveston, Texas. Second one is in Louisiana. And the third one is in Florida, in Apalachicola. And here there are a purpose of choosing these basins. And in Louisiana, we had two basins. So there is a reason for choosing these four basins. Firstly, in Louisiana, it's a river-dominated basin. So if you have two forces against each other, the forces of the river and the forces of the Gulf or the ocean, so there must be one force that is dominated the delta. So in the Mississippi, because of the in Louisiana, because of the Mississippi River, it's a river dominated, and we had two sides or two basins because in this area, for example, the river is still providing sediment, and the river is still moving, and there are some other areas that has been the river delta 1,000 or 2,000 years ago. So it's called abundant delta. So we wanted to understand the difference between the two basins. And then in Galveston, it's now a tide dominated. So basically, the Gulf is dominating the hydrological ecosystem. And then in Apalachicola, interestingly, it's like 50-50. There is no domination from whether the river or the Gulf. So you can see that that's an extreme case, that's another extreme, and this case is somewhere in the middle. Moving forward to the experimental program, and that's an example for each basin. So for each basin, we decided to study two different plants, as I mentioned, the salt marsh and the mangrove, and they are both different in terms of the plant itself, the plant type, and the root system. And as I mentioned, the root system is gonna be important for this study. It's gonna be the focus of the study. So for example, in each basin, we decided two different plants, and for each plant type, we had two sites, and for each site, we had three random plots. That's to avoid any statistical bias in the study. And then per each plot, we collected three cores and we conducted three CBTs. And per each core, we also, because the CBT is going to give you a continuous profile of the shear strength, and the cores is not going to give you this continuous profile unless you segment each core into different samples. So we segment each core in three samples representing depths 0 to 15, 15 to 30, 30 to 45. So right now, let's just recap. We have four basins. In each basins, we have two plant types or two ecosystem types. And for each type, we are collecting several cores and we are doing CBTs. How does our core look like? It looks like something that you can see in this picture, and that's our sharpshooter. Basically, we collect these cores, we divide it into these three segments, and we seal each segment so we can move it to the lab and conduct the direct shear on these samples. And then the CBT is a field test. So going to the CBT, it's very interesting to see the CBT truck that we all know in transportation geotechnical engineering, but this can't be done in the coast. The equipment is very heavy and you can't move it to these areas. And also some areas are just accessible by boats. So you need to seal and in order to go to the sites. So basically, unfortunately, we can't use this CBT truck. So we had to be a little bit innovative, and that's this cone has been used by Dr. Jafari, my advisor, since 2017. Of course, we had multiple modification on it, but the main idea is to have a cone that looks like this picture. It has a smart module. This module measures hydraulic conductivity, electrical resistivity, and other parameters. But this part here is for the geotechnical engineering applications. And here is a fin sleeve. We just modified the original fin sleeve from just being a cylindrical shape into something that looks like the vane shear with 4 fences, and then it measures the tip resistance and of course the bore water pressure. And then we have a very light equipment to compare to this guy that we can move to the coast, connect to the computer, and push it by hand. And basically, it's double because these sides are pretty soft, and you can push it by hand easily. So that's about the CVT. But for this sample that is 6 inch in diameter, 15 centimeter, how can we do the direct shear on it? And that's when we went to the large direct shear device. And the large direct shear device, we had a very interesting lecture with Dr. Ahmed El-Moshi about the large direct shear applications. And it's basically the same idea as the large direct shear, but much bigger. This box here is 12 inch by 12 inch. That's almost 60 centimeter, yeah. 30 centimeter by 30 centimeter. So it's quite big. But if you remember, our samples are cylindrical, so we had to create this wooden box to work as a sample container or a sample mold, and we had our samples inside this container, and we were able to run many tests. But then at some point I was like, this device is pretty heavy, and if you want to run a lot of samples, the sample preparation is taking more time than running the test. So I went to the conventional direct shear and I created multiple modifications just to work with this light device, with this light machine. And later on, I was able to put it in a American case and move with it along around the country. So I took it to Texas, I took it to Florida, and basically I took it everywhere. Like we sit in an Airbnb next to the field location. I just took the samples out of the field. 5 minutes we are at the Airbnb. Direct shear is starting immediately. So if you look at this modification, it's pretty nice. We had this steel box to work as to basically move along the wheels, and then we had these two 3D printed, it's plastic mold to work as a upper and bottom direct shear boxes. We had to modify this guy here in order to create the stroke from, because the conventional triaxial stroke is 1 inch, that's around 2.5 centimeters, and we were doing 3 inches using this guy, so we want to replicate the results. So I had to increase this the length of this stroke. I had to modify the loading arm. The take out point of this is whatever your application, it's doable. You will just need to manipulate your device or your machine. Or even if you are doing numerical modeling, so you just need to manipulate the model, not in a bad way. So that's about the direct shear. And then I'm gonna go a little bit about the results. So first of all, when we collected the cores that you have seen in the plastic caps here, these samples, as you can see, there are sediment and roots. So first of all, we wanted to quantify the roots. And in order to do that, we had to wash out the sediment and then dry out the roots and know the root mass. So that's why this is the second step in the process, because the first step has to be the direct shear, because if you wash down the sediment, you have no sample to shear. So looking here, we are comparing between two sites in Louisiana and Texas, Port Fourchon, Louisiana, Galveston, Texas. So the sites names doesn't matter a lot, but what matters is that the root biomass here or basically the root density of how many roots do you have in each sample, top, middle, and bottom. That's for along the depths 0 to 15, 15 to 30, 30 to 45. It's very interesting that these sites in Louisiana has much more roots compared to these sites in Texas. And as I mentioned, let's go back to the hydrological differences. These sites here are river dominated, so there are sediment coming from the river, and maybe that's why it's providing not only sediment but nutrition, and this nutrient making the roots grow deeper and basically denser. That's why you can see here more roots. And the difference between the biomass and necromass is live roots and dead roots. And here there is an ecological difference. Very quick, the live biomass is mainly providing strength. So when you are shearing a sample, what is resisting you is a live roots, but the below ground is storing the carbon inside these wetlands. I'm gonna go directly to what we like, the stress strain curves. And here you can see a trend that the top samples have a stress hardening behavior. And basically, this is just an example of the results. And I can, you will need just to take my word. This is very repeatable and can be seen in all sites, especially for the first 15 centimeter. It's a strain hardening behavior, and that's because of the elasticity of the roots. And then when you go deeper to the second, to the middle depth, here, if you remember, we had a lot of roots. That's why you can still see the strain hardening behavior. But here, because we don't have much roots, it's more like a soil. It's behaving more like a soil, where there are some peak and then decrease in the strength, some peak and decrease in the strength. And for sure, the top, the bottom samples, which are below the root mass, basically, if you look here, that's very, very minimal compared to these values. And same. So it's a soil behavior. If we plot this curve just instead of up to 80 kPa, up to 20 kPa, you will see this behavior is like the typical soil behavior, peak and then decrease in the strength or failure. So these stress strain curves provide a lot of information, not only comparing peak value to peak value, but also in the soil root interaction and which component is dominating the strength at which depth. Moving forward, what if we plot this with this on the same curve? So that's the blue ground biomass in the box plot, and the points shear to the shear stress. It's just by coincidence that the maximum here was 100 and the maximum here was 102. But no matter how the minimum or maximum look like, that's the trend. That's an actual trend. Some interesting takeout from this figure is in Galveston. It's not only the roots that is playing a big factor in the shear strength, and that's because the soil here are sandy. So there are some figures for the sand content. I just wanted this presentation to be brief, but the sand content here is much higher than here, and you know, in general sense are stronger than clays. Moving forward to another study, which is about the AI and imaging. And here we want to focus more about imaging what is happening inside the road. And that's interesting and very important for two main factors. Number one, as we saw from the other results, roots are the key player in the shear strength, but also roots are providing the nutrients. So without roots, these plants are gonna die. So that's why we were interested in looking inside the root, and that's we used this machine here. But quickly, the process is taking one of the cores, wash out the sediment. You will get some root bundles like this, and then you will start working with individual roots. If you look at this red arrow, it points out to a very small root segment that we talk to look inside, and that's what it looks like. Basically, what we are looking at is a laser image. This optical coherence tomography is this machine here, and uh, it sends laser lights that penetrate inside the material and then provide you with a 3D shape. Of course, this is not a whole root because a whole root will look something like a circle, but that's like part of it. And what we can see from here is very interesting because this penetration goes deeper when it hits a live material, and it goes it basically it penetrates deeper in live materials. So we did some image processing based on machine learning models, and these models are of an accuracy of 70%. It's not very high, but to uh, the margin of error that we are working with and to the type of materials that we are working with, we were satisfied with this for now. There are further development of these models going on, but the current model has an accuracy of 70%. And basically, the objective is to determine what is live versus what is dead using the optical coherence tomography. Moving forward with imaging, with AI and machine learning, we are doing X-ray computed tomography, that's XCT scan, and we are doing this in the whole core. And what you can see here is how many routes, and if you take a top view, you will see how these routes are interacting. It's crazy. And the purpose of the XCT is to couple it with these small images and trying to define what is live versus dead for the same objectives that we have mentioned is the role of each one. I wish I can delve more in this AI stuff and imaging, but I'm sure we are running out of time, and I will just conclude for now. You can reach out to me. We can discuss it further, or if you have any question, that's perfectly fine. In conclusion, some takeaways. Number one, the hybrid infrastructure or even the natural infrastructure can provide sustainable and resilient alternatives to the gray structures, especially facing the climate change and sea level rise, hurricanes, and so on. Root system in coastal wetlands are very important. It's enriching the soil, it's increasing the stability of the wetlands, and the wetlands are very important in dissipating the storm surge. Geotechnical testing can provide valuable insights to coastal and ecological fields when it's used um, by a manipulative way, or let's say by a smart way to apply it to these kind of environments. Finally, AI and advanced imaging are powerful tools. They can be used in our fields in many aspects, and hopefully we can reach to a point that it can predict the mechanical behavior. Finally, designing for future coastal infrastructure must consider not only geotechnical factors, but also the biological and ecological factors, because these ecosystems are not acting like man-made material. And thank you for listening. And if you have any question, I will be happy to answer it. If not now, you can reach out to my email. I will send it to the chat right now, or you can reach out to my LinkedIn. All of these are perfectly fine. If you are friends on Facebook, that's also fine. Thank you, and thank you, Dr. Mohamed, for organizing the session.
MashaAllah. Thank you very much. Impressive work. Any question for Dr. Hassan?